Hello everyone, and welcome back for another RGB RPG's DM Prep Guide. This week we're going to take a look at Session 8 of our Candlekeep Mystery session. We did skip the prep video for Session 7 because a bit of improv happened during Session 6, which made all of our prep for Session 7 pretty much the same as it was for Session 6. This is Opal. So last session they finished off dealing with those restless spirits in the forest that they found themselves in, figuring out the trick to getting them to leave them alone instead of just full out having to slay all of these spirits of children. But continuing onward, they encountered a troll bridge on the way, and I actually learned a valuable lesson about that, because if you remember from our last prep video, I said we're just going to leave those other locations vague and not really worry about them, we're just going to brush over them. Learned that if there is a named location on a map, players will ask a huge amount of questions about them and want to explore them. Who'd have thunk? So I know better now. If there is a named location, put some work into it, flesh it out. But that being said, the improv that happened out of Three Tree Hill was one of the best improv sessions I think I've had. Really great session, really great thing where the players' questions that they asked about the situation fed into the narrative that I created for it. It was all improv, so if you want to check that out, head over to Session 6 of our Candlekeep Mysteries game. It was really something special to see. Just the players' fear and apprehension of the situation allowed me to build on that and create a situation that they pretty much created for themselves. That was all unplanned, had no idea what was going to go into there. All I did was roll on a random encounter generator. I believe it's called 5e RPG generator. It's on the on the Google Play Store. But I just rolled on that, and it said something along the lines of, your party wakes to find footprints all around their campsite after their rest. That was pretty much it. And then I just did that and ran with it. And then the questions that they asked fueled the narrative that went forward and basically led us to them being gifted items by this group of lost spirits in the forest that grew angry when certain party members destroyed those gifts that were given, and then making friends of the ones that did not destroy the gifts. So yeah, definitely check that out in Session 6, but that's why there wasn't any Session 7 prep video, because all this prep from Session 6 pretty much carried over into Session 7. But I digress. Further into Session 7, after they dealt with all those with the last part of those forest spirits, they encountered a troll bridge, another fun encounter versus a few trolls. A few of my more knowledgeable players used their out-of-game knowledge to figure out how their in-game characters could deal with that situation. It was really great. That's the kind of metagaming that's kind of to be expected. Everyone that's played D&D for a few years knows what trolls do, pretty much almost everyone. And so figuring out what would my character know about this situation and how to apply that was on display in that. So that worked out well. They then met with a individual by the name of Kendrick Oso, who was more or less a criminal from Neverwinter, but he was the type of criminal who only did crime to benefit the people that were downtrodden. He was looking after a group of street urchins, a group of orphans on the street, and he had taken it into his own personal responsibility to make sure that they were taken care of. And a person of his skill set and means, the best way that he could do that is stealing from people that didn't need it or had more than they needed. So they met with him, and he had learned of a black dragon's horde that had, according to rumor, gone unguarded for quite some time now. An epic battle between a black dragon and a red dragon, both ancients, ended with both of them slain and the horde unguarded. When he arrived there, he discovered that a young black dragon had instead taken over residence of the place that was once a bog, but now was basically just a scorch after that battle. And this individual, Kendrick Oso, decided that he needed help to go in there, because he's not an idiot. And so he had recruited a group from Neverwinter that he thought was up to the challenge, but he doesn't really like these people. He works with them because he has to. And when the party comes along, he found an opportunity to perhaps not give those unscrupulous characters the opportunity to get their hands on the horde. So offered the party that if they help him, that they can take whatever items they find within the Horde. All he wants is the gold so that he can take it back and help his people. So that's where we're picking up this session, and we have a pretty doozy this week. I fully expect them to finish this dragon fight and then move on to Chalet Brantifax afterwards. So we have both the dragon fight prep and the chalet itself, which I'm really excited to get into. Really glad I had the extra time to flesh that out more, because I came up with a few ideas. I think some other YouTubers have had similar ideas of how to get Chalet for Antifax to make a little bit more sense narratively and why they go to the Shadowfell, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, Session 8 prep. We're still circling around back to the players' backstories. Once we get back to Silvery Moon, Alistair will be able to ask whatever questions he has about the Drow and his origins and things like that from Aristina Silverhand. We'll be back by the time they arrive. Prepare to battle the Black Dragon. Right. So, most of this comes from just understanding a Black Dragon stat block, which thankfully a young Black Dragon is pretty straightforward. It is going to, if they decide to attack it in the lair, we don't have a separate map for that because this lair is just a very basic L-shaped dip down into that crevice, that crater there. But if they do decide to try and go in there to fight him, then we just have the encounter taking place over here and let them know that you're underground right now. But what's more likely is that they will fight it out here, and that will allow the Black Dragon to fully use its flight. And that is one of the big things with these guys. They're not just going to sit there and melee and get wailed on. He is going to use that 80-foot fly speed to fly 40 feet up into the air and then 40 feet back down to strike, and then back up and so on and so forth in that manner. Of course, using his breath weapon whenever it's available. This is a really careful one. The players already know not to bunch up for breath weapons. They were talking about it in the last session, but this attack has the potential to instantly kill somebody. Our characters, if they are positioned poorly and fail a con save, could very well just outright die to this weapon. They have had every opportunity to gauge the danger of the situation and have decided that this is something that's worth doing. So great, they want a difficult, challenging fight, but that is exactly what they're going to get. Challenging fight where on the roll of 5 or 6, well, at first they will get hit. They will get targeted by this breath weapon. That is 11 d8 damage, which is huge. That could outright kill some of the party members. So, yeah, dangerous fight, fun fight. The other side of the coin is that these attacks aren't huge. The Bite, Claw, multi-attack is unlikely to hit a couple of our frontliners, and the damage, while it can be substantial, even if all 3 hit, isn't enough to outright kill anybody. Knock them unconscious, sure, not outright kill. So the breath weapon is their biggest danger in this, and again, this is a young Black Dragon, so it is going to be more arrogant, it is going to be more full of itself. It has not encountered anyone yet that it has not been able to simply bat away and eliminate with his breath weapon. So he is going to be overconfident. After it takes a good chunk of damage, it will understand the threat that it's facing and start to act a little bit more intelligently. But that first initial onslaught is just going to be a charging in, use his breath weapon, and start wailing away, unsure of the danger that it faces. So, when this is all said and done, players will be able to move on to Chalet Brantifax. We get the treasure hoard that we talked about back in Session 6 prep. They get to go at. It is a reduced hoard, because we're going to say that a lot of it's melted to slag. Mainly, we want to be able to use a good treasure table, but we don't want to overpower our party. So, again, to do that, we picked one of the, I believe it's the 5 to 10, level 5 to 10 DMG table, but we cut the second half of it off. So it's going to be roll a d100, double the, or cut the result in half, and that's the part of the table that they get. So, after the dragon fight, Kendrick's good on his word. He's not going to take any of the items. All he wants is the gold and the jewels. And then, when we get closer and closer to Chalet Brantifax, we're going to get more into the creepier aspects of this adventure. We got a little taste of it over at Which Way. The shadow crossings opening up randomly. This is the source of that whole happening. And the landscape is gonna reflect that. It's gonna get darker. It's gonna get colder. It's gonna get overcast. Um, Use some weather effects to kind of highlight how the environment is changing. Um, Obviously, music plays a big part in setting that atmosphere. So if they approach at night, they will see some lights on. I'm debating that. I mean, these were-ravens know what they're doing. If they're going to be in a room at night, I feel like they would board those windows up and make it so that they couldn't be seen. So we're not gonna. The book says that if they approach at night, the players can obviously see that there's people in there. We're gonna skip that. We're not gonna allow the players to know that there are residents here. They'll find evidence of that in the building, but it's not gonna be they walk up, it's like, oh, people. No. We're gonna let that be more of a surprise. So when the players enter the chalet, looking for whatever brought them here, the young girl asking for their assistance, they're not going to encounter her until they get up to a very specific point on that. But what they are going to encounter is these were-ravens actively trying to scare them, using their unique voice abilities to throw their voices around the house. So they'll be up in one room. Take you over to it. So we have Chalet Branch Facts here. The previous map and this map are both available on the Patreon for anyone that has not picked those up yet. Head over there and grab them. But as they enter in through here, the only sign of actual habitation is not going to come until they get to this area here, where they will see that the kitchen is actually full of recently used items and food. So that's going to be their first hint that the place is actually under habitation. The were-ravens themselves are up in this area. They boarded up this window so they can't be seen from inside, and they are constantly throwing their voice out to try and spook the party. We have a couple tables for that, and were-raven mimicry. This is a great table. Just roll a d6, and this is what the players hear when they're exploring the chalet. So yeah. Throughout the place, they're gonna get evidence of who used to live here. That this place was once home to the Baron, the Baron's dog, the two children, and the Baron's wife. The Baron's wife hated this place, and her hatred of the place and disdain for her position in life is one of the reasons that this place is has had such a bad experience lately. And so as the players search through, they're going to find out that not only is this place being pretend haunted by the were-ravens, but it's actually a little bit haunted. The Baron's ghost hangs out in the well down here, and it's more of a spectral after-image than an actual full-fledged creature ghost. He calls to his lost dog. He fell down the well looking for his dog after the dog passed of old age, and he was so despondent that he began sleepwalking. And in one of his fits of sleepwalking, he fell into this well and drowned. His spirit is still in there calling out to his lost dog. The other spirit that haunts this place is, of course, right here. It's one of the daughters haunting this room. Her spirit, angry for what happened to her. We'll get into that in just a moment. But as the players continue searching around this place, they'll find evidence that the wife, Madame Brentifax, was not very happy about this, about being here. She hated the chalet. She resented her children, especially the younger of which, who was born with some severe deformities and bedridden for most of her life. And the mother's shame and guilt for the way that she felt about this is what split the shadow crossing open. And yeah. So moving on, we got the kitchen as evidence of being used. Right, the graveyard. There's going to be some interesting things here. The Baron's medallion can be recovered from the well, and if it is laid to rest on his grave, then his spirit can be released from this place. One of the younger daughters, her grave was dug up, the corpse stolen, and replaced with a scarecrow by a hag many years ago. She thought it was the funniest thing. And then the other grave is, of course, the Shadow Crossing. So, when the players meet with the were-ravens at any point, Were Ravens are going to do their best to impress on the players that they are not bad guys. And hopefully this doesn't devolve into a combat, but if it does, the players will... If it does dissolve into a combat, the Were Ravens will attempt to flee or negotiate. They're not bad guys, they're actually good guys. They have taken it upon themselves to guard this Shadow Crossing and make sure that things that come out of it don't go too far. And they also make it a job of theirs to recover dangerous artifacts from throughout the region. In fact, a Visage of Orcus is in their possession right now, and they're debating on what to do with it when the players arrive. But that's really as far as I expect them to get today. If they do get all the way to the Shadowfell, they're in for quite a fight. So this is where the way that I'm doing this is going to differ quite substantially from the book. The book just has a random person here in the Harn, Drovath Harn. It seems unrelated to the story itself. So instead, we're going to have Madame Brantifax be the wraith that has come here. And as you can see from the tokens on this map, it's a big boy fight. It's a tough one. We're going to have Madame Brantifax be that wraith, and she is the one who must be defeated in order to close that Shadow Crossing. So when the players get here, she's going to stroll out to meet them, and they can confront her about what she's potentially done. We're going to leave that vague. The book leaves it vague on whether or not she actually killed her youngest daughter or not. But evidence points to that being a possibility. So we'll allow the players to kind of drive the narrative there, and if they thoroughly think that she did, then we will allow that to be the case. If they don't, then maybe she thought about it, and that thought, when she died, maybe her guilt over hoping and wishing that her daughter would pass, drove this situation to fruition. But we're kind of going to play that by ear, and then if we do make it to next week, maybe we will flesh it out a bit more. But for now, this is going to be more of an improv situation as to why exactly Madame Brantifax is here. But yeah, that's pretty much what we got for today's session. Don't expect to do much farther than this, but if it does, we are prepared to run the Harn Mausoleum as well. And yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. Remember, you can get these videos on the Patreon a full month before they're available on YouTube. And this one, as well as Descent into Avernus, has a full series of prep guides. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and we will see you next time.